Hey out there, legal warriors. Have you ever worried about having to go in front of a judge? It's a nerve-wracking thing if you've never been in court. So in this video, I'm going to cover 3 mistakes to avoid if you have to go in front of a judge for almost any situation. If you're interested in this area of the law, stay tuned. This is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Linwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington State for more than 20 years. I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people will get the help they need. Now I'm just going to jump right into it. If you ever have to go in front of a judge, it can be a nerve-wracking thing, especially if you're not a lawyer. In fact, even new lawyers get nervous in front of judges. So can you imagine how it is if you're not a lawyer? So there's, things you should do and things you shouldn't do, but the most important things are what to avoid. So I'm going to cover 3 mistakes to avoid if you're going in front of a judge. So what's number one? The most important thing is to not interrupt the judge, to listen to the judge. It sort of goes along with respect. So judges are just people, and they have good days and bad days. And I think a fairly uniform characteristic of a judge is, it's their court. Their rule is their rule. And anything that sort of interrupts that or disrespects that can get them activated, and they can do some really bad things to your case if you turn out on their bad side. In fact, I was just at a case where the judge was pretty angry with the other side, and I think it probably had some effect on the ruling, and that's always, helpful that you don't do something to make the ruling worse for you. So what do I mean by that? Well, when you get in front of a judge, sometimes just saying stuff that you don't like. Mr. Defendant, this is your 3rd time in the courtroom, and I'm getting really tired of seeing that. You try to stop him and say, no, it's only my 2nd, in the middle of them talking. That's probably not a good idea. Additionally, if it's not your turn to talk, it's really important to not start talking if it's not your turn. Basically, sometimes the other side gets to go first and they talk to the judge. And you don't want to interrupt that proceeding in the judge's way of doing things by saying, no, that's not true what they're saying, because the judge can't hear everything and they're going to say, hey, one at a time, only talk one at a time. So what you need to do is you need to listen to what the judge has to say. And remember, you're there to put your side of a story out in many cases. However, you want to do it in a way that the listener feels respected and the listener can receive. So to whatever degree, if you have to talk in court, and hopefully with a lawyer, you want to make sure to not upset the judge by not listening or disrespecting what they're saying by trying to interrupt them, even if we don't agree. So number 2 also sort of goes with respect. That is proper attire in court. So you don't have to get all dressed up like an attorney in court. You don't have to have a suit. And actually, oftentimes we advise against that if you don't normally wear a suit. But you don't want to wear a hat in court. You don't want to wear shorts in court. You don't want to wear sleeveless shirts in court. And you don't want to wear anything offensive in court. I can remember a time much earlier in my career where a client had wore a shirt that said something that was anti-police on the shirt. And that might be how the client felt, but being charged with the crime and having to walk right up to the felony court with that shirt on was not a good look. In fact, I gave that client my folder to put over his shirt, and that made me make a mistake. I couldn't remember exactly how to pronounce the client's name because it wasn't in front of me anymore. So, but it was more important that that shirt, which would be offensive to the judge, to a pro law enforcement judge, wasn't associated with my client. So, there's where I learned to do a little bit better job explaining, like I am here, about what we do want to wear to court. What I tell a lot of my clients is that, hey, when you go to court, how would you dress when you went out on a Friday night to Applebee's with your grandma if it was for a special occasion, right? You're not going to totally dress down, and you're not going to put on a suit either. Just, something that makes you sort of blend in, and you are going to be fine. But still, no hats. You don't bring food and drink to court. Try to avoid bringing your kids if you can. And nowadays, a lot of court is by Zoom. So by Zoom, we want to act like we're in court, right? We want to be at a quiet place. We want to not be walking around. So many people are walking around. We don't want to be eating or drinking, things like that. So it's important that you wear proper court attire. And I think The third mistake to avoid in front of a judge would be talking about your case when you shouldn't be. So if we're talking a criminal case, you really need to have an attorney, and you're not to discuss the case in open court with the prosecutor right next to you unless your attorney has cleared it with you that you're making some apology or testifying or something like that. For other types of cases that aren't criminal, that would also apply. If you have representation, don't be talking about anything without getting approval of your attorney. And if you don't have representation, you need to talk to somebody to figure out what it is you should and shouldn't say. Because if you say the wrong things, it's going to hurt your case, right? I was just in court yesterday, and there was a debate on a case in front of me about whether or not someone had violated conditions by drinking. And the attorney was doing a good job trying to delay any consequences, maybe get in front of a more favorable judge. And what did the client say? Not our client. I was just watching this, said, yeah, I was drinking. And everyone could hear it, right? The judge could hear it. The prosecutor could hear it. That probably wasn't the right thing to say at the time, because that was against what the attorney's strategy was. I could tell the strategy was to try to get it to another day with a judge that was a little bit less of a hanging judge, right? But that client, in my opinion, not our client, made a mistake. So it's important that if you're in front of a judge and you're going to talk, that you know what you're going to say, you're cleared by your attorney to say it, and you're very certain it's not going to hurt your case, because emotions run high, right? Emotions run high in court, and so it's easy to blurt something out. It's happened in our own cases over 20 years, rarely, but sometimes you can't stop a client from saying something that might actually harm them. So don't do that, right? Don't do that for your own case. So what's the overarching theme of the mistakes to avoid? I think the theme is that when we go to court, we're there to get a result. We're there to try to get a decision that's favorable. And who's making that decision more often than not is the judge. So when we are in front of the judge, we want to act with respect. We want to realize that the words we're saying hopefully are authentic, but even more importantly, are humble and in some way will be authentic sounding in a way that will try to get your point across in a way that the other side can hear. We've all been in arguments, we've all had heated moments. We don't want to be heated. We don't want to be emotional. We want to be in a position, if we're, a client in front of a judge, where we're looked at as, hey, that person's not a problem. Your attorney might be able to be heated or emotional on purpose at the right time to get attention or get some point across where it's okay for them to get the point across. But it's something that generally, as a general piece of training, you want to avoid if you're a lay person, a non-attorney, having to talk about your own case in front of a judge. So I hope you found that useful. If so, please like and please subscribe. And more importantly, if you need legal help in Washington State, we do criminal defense. We also do some protection orders. Feel free to reach out to my firm. We'll listen to what happened. We'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.